Hi everyone, welcome to my week 2 presentation, and the open position I will be discussing this week will be the Senior Code Enforcement Officer position. Now in most cities, code enforcement usually is the eyes and ears of City Hall. They usually pick up little ticks, little issues that come up within the community, and usually it can be addressed, or if looked into more thoroughly, can lead to further or larger issues that require attention. And the question is, being that representative government is one of the pillars in public administration, what would you do if there have been an increase in code violations? And you notice, based off the last name, that most citations are oriented around a certain ethnic community, in this case, Asians. What would you do to address this issue? The first answer I presented was in the wrong category. To continue to issue citations and that fines will help generate more revenues towards public safety. Um, Even though the answer is true, there are other issues that occur in regards to code violations or any violations within a city. As I mentioned before, it could lead to larger issues where it will take more resources or maybe additional planning or maybe even changes in policy in general to better serve the public, because we are here to serve the public and represent them, and so we have to be careful on how we address certain issues and not just let them fall by the wayside. Now, the second answer I marked as mediocre, and it would be suggesting that City Hall issue notice to the public, reminding them to adhere to city ordinances and codes because there has been an uptick in violations. There's different notices that can be sent, whether it be through mail, through apps, or email. General notices can be sent or announced through city council or town hall like meetings. However, it really doesn't have as much far-reaching effects as it should because everybody's lives are busy. How often do we check notices that come from our city or any government, right? How often are we able to attend city council meetings, right, that are held at times where maybe we're still stuck in traffic? And so, although this does address maybe broader and maybe a little bit longer term issues and possible solutions, this in my opinion, wouldn't be an outstanding answer. It wouldn't show me, an analytical skill set that I'm looking for, and even, public service motivation, right? So yeah, answer two is a bit mediocre. Now the third answer I marked as outstanding because first, if the applicant were to tell me that he would analyze the citations based off of last name, type of violation, or frequency of violation, we can get a lot of information from that, right? If all the last names are indeed Asian, then we may be looking at possible language barrier, right? The types of violations, right? If it's just smaller violations like trash can misplacement, or uh, basketball hoops putting on the driveway. Those are sort of smaller types, right? But if we get other maybe noise complaints, more impactful on neighbor type of complaints, then we maybe need to take a look at this through another lens. Now, second, there could be, uh, other issues, as I mentioned, right? And we would need longer term solutions, as I mentioned, translations, right? Outreach by City Hall, right? Working with community members that may be able to, break through the language barriers or any kind of cultural barriers that can prevent proper communication, right? And this will create a inclusive, environment within the city. And, if there is a language barrier, people will feel more comfortable, talking to City Hall and maybe even showing up at City Council meetings, right? If we can address the language barrier. And so, by doing so, we can create efficiencies, within City Hall itself, right? Regardless if it's translation, outreach, if we can get to issues faster and understand it better, then it creates a more effective and efficient City Hall. So, in closing, I believe every job with at least the right skill set, the applicant can do the job, right? And if there's any kind of shortcomings, there's always trainings, policies, guidelines. I mean, a whole slew of options that for training of a new applicant. What I'm looking for when hiring an individual, I want to see somebody that can think outside the box, right? I don't put them down for their weaknesses, and I don't necessarily praise them for their strengths. I want somebody that can think broad term, be proactive, and understand the scenario in front of them, right? Not just sit there and just do the mundane work day after day, right? They have to be able to enjoy their work, and if they can think analytically and critically, and for the community, then that is the type of person that will ultimately be your top performer and add value to your organization.